Hello, everybody, and welcome to Modern Web KC. My name is Tara Hampton, and I am an operations manager at This.Labs.
My name is Chris Whited. I am a senior software engineer at This.Labs, and we're going to be co-hosting Modern Web KC for you all tonight.
Thank you all for joining us. I know normally we would be seeing your lovely faces in person, but we are super grateful to be able to bring this to you digitally. Our partners today are GDG Kansas City, KCDC, and ngGirlsKC. Our sponsor today is This.Labs, your partners in modern digital transformation. We specialize in mentorship, consulting, training, and staff augmentation for enterprise organizations. You can find out more at this.labs.com, or you can send us an email if you have any questions to hi@this.co. Our other sponsor tonight is KCDC, a development conference here in Kansas City that is actually coming up later this summer. Assuming that it's still on with all of the COVID-19 events, you can get tickets and stay updated at kcdc.info.
So tonight we have a couple of awesome speakers, both from the area. I'll let them introduce themselves. But we have Alisa Duncan, co-organizer of ngGirlsKC and a program director for ngGirlsKC. I met Alisa actually last year at the ngGirlsKC event that KCWIT put up. It was amazing. It was a great time. There were quite a few women who were there. Super excited about that again. And then we have JD Hillen, a senior front-end developer at Dimensional Innovations.
Hello, you guys. Thank you for joining.
Thanks for having us.
Okay, so we have a few announcements to go over. This dot, as you know, likes to put on a lot of events, and we have a ton coming up this month. Definitely taking advantage of everybody staying inside in front of their computers. Next week specifically, we have our first GraphQL fireside chat about platform and data-centric use cases with GraphQL on Tuesday. And then on Thursday, we have State of View with Evan Yu. As you can see, there are actually quite a few events coming up. We have State of ngRX, a lot of fireside chats. All of these links you can find on our website at this.co. And if you follow us on social media, you might already be aware of our new program that we just launched last week called JavaScript Marathon. We're very excited that each week we are bringing you a day of live training covering various topics on React, Angular, Vue, web performance, and RxJS. Each week it changes, but we're covering all of the topics. You can get a full list and a schedule and times and kind of an agenda of what we're going over at javascriptmarathon.com. So I encourage you to sign up. It's free. We've got a lot of good reviews on it that it's been really beneficial for everybody who's watching. So I highly encourage you to check it out. Let's see. So our schedule tonight, we kind of are finding out that it might go just a little bit faster since we're not in person to have like the normal back and forth conversation. But we'll be starting out with Alisa's talk, she will be speaking about digging into Angular animations. And then we will take a brief break to have some JavaScript Jeopardy fun. I will have to warn you ahead of time, there is a bit of a delay from on the live stream from whenever we're talking from you're receiving, typing in your answers in the comment box, please, and then us receiving them. So there might be a little bit of awkward silence. So just to warn you ahead of time, if there is any of that, and it's just because we're trying to wait to see if it's the delay or if your wheels are spinning upstairs. So after JavaScript Jeopardy, we'll be moving on to JD, who will be talking to us about Vue in practice at Dimensional Innovations. And then we will close it out with a couple of announcements and goodbyes. So that said, let's go ahead and get started. Alisa, are you ready?
Yeah, I am.
Okay. We're going to let you take the wheel.
All right. Hi, everybody. Tonight I'm going to talk about digging into Angular animations. I'm really glad you're able to join us online. I wish I could meet you in person. I'm looking forward to seeing you at our next event. A little bit about me. My name is Alisa. I am a software architect and a co-organizer of ngGirlsKC. I'm also program director of ngGirls Kansas City, and that event is happening this summer. So if you're interested in participating as a attendee, a mentor, or a volunteer, feel free to reach out. I'd be happy to give you some more information. I'm a Navy brat and a former chemist who enjoys drinking wine. I am not a designer and I am not a CSS expert. So all the animations we're going to talk about tonight is going to be super simple, and we'll focus more on Angular's API. You can follow me on Twitter, GitHub, or the dev community at Alisa Duncan. First, let's talk about why do we want animations? Why do we even care? Well, animations help draw attention to elements so that users know what to focus on. It also makes applications feel more expressive and interactive and just a joy to use. The traditional way of implementing the animations in an application is by defining it in the CSS. You could use the animation event on supported browsers if you need to do anything a bit more complicated. And then for complex animations, you have to manage a lot yourself. So luckily, Angular has a library to help us out. So if you write an Angular application and want to use animations, it's built on top of CSS animations, so the syntax is already familiar. And as a first-class citizen of a component and router property, so hooking it into your application is seamless. And you can also add it to the router to define animations consistently across your application as user navigates around. When you bind it, you can put it in the template, or you can also use the host binding in the component for more programmatic control. And Angular itself will manage the coordination and support the complex animation sequences for you. So let's talk about how this all works. It's based upon state transitions and triggers. You would define different CSS styles based off of the state of your element, and you define what those states are. Then you define the transition between the states, and that's your animation part. Then you define when the animation is triggered. If you do need to have customized behavior, animation triggers do emit a callback of the animation event as well. So for complex animations, Angular handles the setup, tear down, and cleanup, and the coordination of your elements across the view. If you have a parent-child relationship in your components, parent elements can explicitly control animation of the child elements using the built-in method called animateChild. And you can apply multiple animation triggers on an element. So depending on, say, how your user interacts with the application, you might want to animate differently. You can handle that. We'll talk about some helper methods that Angular has. So this is just a small subset of the methods that are built in, but we'll cover a lot of these tonight in our application. You can query to find elements matching a criteria. This is similar to like document.querySelector. You can stagger animations of fire with a timing gap. You can group animations to run in parallel. You can sequence animation steps, and you can also define a set of styles using keyframes. So let's see how we can implement Angular animations. What we're going to do tonight is we're going to animate the Tour of Heroes app. This is like a starter app that the Angular team walks you through in their tutorial to learn how to build Angular applications. It is a tour of heroes. So we see a dashboard of heroes. We can also navigate into a hero and see hero details. We can also view heroes in a list. This messages area down here just shows you what the code or what the application is doing for server calls. And we're going to animate this tonight. So for component animations, first, you need to bring the animations module into your application. So that's the browser animations module, and you bring this into the app module. Then you would define your animations, and this goes into the components animation metadata property. First, let's try triggering a style based off a state. Back to our Tour of Heroes app, I moved the messages down into the bottom corner. So now when we click on a hero, we see that the messages, the button turned from yellow to green. Now if we go back to dashboard, the button color turned back to yellow. So all we're doing is we're changing the button color based off of whether or not it was an even number of messages or odd number of messages. So to do that, we defined the styles for the state of that element, that button. We defined an animation trigger. This time I'm calling it message state. And then for the state, which I've called even messages, I set that background color to green. And then for the state odd messages, I set the background color to yellow. Then I triggered the animation by binding it in the template. And the syntax for that is square bracket @ the name of my animation trigger, which is message state. Then I'm setting the value of that to the state even messages or odd messages based off of whether there's even number messages or odd number messages in the message service. And that's all I have to do to change the button from green to yellow. But there's no animation. It's just changing the style. So let's add some animations. In this example, I hope this works. Yeah. So in this example, the hero list is sliding in from the bottom of the page. So let's animate that. First, let's talk about transitions and timings. So you would declare the transition for an element from the beginning state to the ending state. So it looks something like this. Use the method transition, then you pass in begin state, arrow, end state. Then you would define the animation using the animate method, in which you pass in the duration, delay, and easing. So let's talk a little bit more about those transition definitions. All elements start and end with a void state. So this is when an element comes into view or leaves the view. You can also match all states with a wildcard state. And Angular has some built-in shortcuts for entering and leaving. So this is when an element enters the view or leaves the view. It also has built-in helper shortcuts for associated numeric values to transitions with the increment and decrement. And we will also use this later today. You could declare multiple transition matches. So you could say state A, arrow, state B, so for A to B, comma, A to C. And arrows can be bidirectional. So instead of having to say A to B, comma, B to A, you could say A bidirectional arrow B. So to use the code, now we have a new animation trigger called animate in. And then for the transition, I'm using void to anything. So that's also the same as the built-in helper method enter. I'm setting the style, translate Y, so I have to transform. So I'm just moving it up the page vertically, and I'm animating it for 0.5 seconds. Then in the HTML, when I bind it into the template, I just add in the name of the animation trigger, which is, once again, that square bracket @ and then the name of my animation trigger, animate in. I'm adding that to the list item so that it applies to all the heroes. So that was pretty cool, but fairly simple. So let's see a fancier example. So now in this case, the heroes are staggering into view as opposed to coming into one big group. Fancy is now easy because we can use built-in animation methods. The only change I had to make in this case from the last is I just called the built-in helper method stagger, and I defined for how long, the length of time, 0.5 seconds. That's all I had to do. So in my example, I have the heroes coming in as one big group, and I have the heroes coming in staggered. But all the data is the same. It's the same list of heroes. I don't want to have two different components in which only thing that's different is animation. I want to be able to conditionally animate. So I can drive animation logic from component variables. I could do so by setting my animate in trigger to as a variable animate state. I've declared this variable in my component. Then in my trigger, I could set the that animate state variable to either heroes group or heroes stagger, and then based off of what that value of the animate state variable is, then I can animate conditionally. So let's step up the fanciness and add some route transition animations. You can hook into the router to have animation between the views of a route change. And you can also apply these animations for nested routes as well. So this is super extra fancy. In this example, we start with dashboard. Then when I select heroes group, the animation causes the view to slide out and then the heroes slide in. If I go back to dashboard, it slides the other way. So it looks like a nice smooth transition between those two routes. To do so, now we need to add animation data to the route definitions. This is in your router module. In the route definition, I am passing in data. I named it route animation with the value dashboard or heroes, which matches the name of the route. Then I define the animation, and here, this is where I use the data from that from the animation data. Then I add my template bindings. I'm now calling my animation trigger route animation and passing in a method to prepare route. I'm grabbing the router outlet and passing that outlet into the prepare route method. Then in my prepare route method, this is in the component, I'm just grabbing the value of that route animation data. So that worked, but that was for 2 different routes. So it's by state. What if you have more? So if you have more than 2 route states, you can animate sequences. So this is especially applicable to navigation lists or nav bars. So now we have, starting with dashboard, we can now move to this heroes group view or this heroes stagger view and back to dashboard. So I don't want to have to create transitions for every permutation of these 3 different routes. And I can do that by animating route sequences. So I can use numeric value to represent navigation progression across the nav bar. Instead of passing in the name dashboard or heroes, I'm now using numeric value 1, 2, 3 from left to right across the nav bar increasingly. I could utilize built-in helper methods increment and decrement to define those transitions. So increment has any time the value is greater than, and decrement any value is less than. So that's all I had to do to have the nav bar animation. Now that you have all these animations, you want to reuse them. You don't want to have to have the same animation in every component. So you can keep it dry and reuse animations by defining it in a separate file from the component. That way you can use it in multiple components and keep your code modular and clean up your component file. In order to make it reusable, define your animation in a separate file, and you can optionally use variables. So I'm using the variable enter param and leave param here. Then in my component, I could utilize that animation by the method use animation, and I'm passing in those params. So this way I'm moving across the page one way or the other. This is my my route animation. So now that you have all these animations, you're probably wondering, how do you test without having all sorts of timing issues? Well, Angular has your back. You could use the no-op animations module in your test bed when component DOM testing to prevent animations from triggering at all. So happy testing. If you thought this was interesting and you want to learn more, you can check out my slides. It's on GitHub. You could also take a look at the code in the Animated Tour of Heroes app. And if you really want to dive in deeper, check out the animation docs on Angular.io because they're awesome. And that's all I have. Let me see if there's any questions. All right, well, awesome. If you have any questions, feel free to ping me. I'm happy to answer them. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Alisa. You did a fantastic job. Very thorough. I'm surprised there were no questions. So thank you for coming tonight and sharing with us. So it is now time for JavaScript Jeopardy. Chris is going to lead the way here. Let's see. Again, just a reminder to everybody that we do have a delay in time from whenever we read the question to you to when you receive it and might type your answer in. But please type your answer. Remember, most of these questions are in Jeopardy format, so the answers should be stated in the form of a question. There are some non-tech related ones that are really just like funny questions that you'll be able to tell that there's no way to answer those in the form of a question. Let's get started. Chris.
All right, y'all. Let's do this. All right. First question. The type of function definition that uses let, const, or var.
We should have the music playing in the background. Okay, I'm guessing nobody knows the answer to this one.
Yo, this only works if you actually like type something. Like you gotta.
Oh, what is a named function?
It is not either of those options. It is not anonymous, nor is it a named function.
All right, should we give the answer?
Yeah, I think we have to. All right. Function expression. What is a function expression?
Okay. Next question. What is the best way to cook a gator? This is obviously just one of the funny ones. Also known as dad jokes. What is fried? What is gumbo? Both good, but not quite right. In the alley. No. What is later? Also good, but not quite. Okay, I'm going for it. What is alley? Like alligator? I mean, very close. In a crock pot. Rob got it. Way to go, Rob. Okay, next question. Chris.
This is the way to enable use of JS modules in Node 13.8. This is a newish one. It comes out with a new ECMAScript or with the new Node version. It's pretty cool. But what is the way to enable the use of JS modules in Node 13.8?
I mean, Chris, if you want to sing the song. What is a flag?
Not correct. There's a couple ways to do this, actually. There's two ways. We will accept either of these two answers.
This is what I get for running LTS.
What? We're talking about that later, Devin. I'm calling you later. We're talking about this. That's unacceptable.
Okay, let's get the answer, shall we?
Yeah. So the answer here is, what is a .mjs file? So you can import a .mjs file, or you can specify type module in the package JSON.
Right. What do you call a bee that can't make up its mind? This is a definite dad joke. Come on, guys. You can do it. Okay. What do you think?
Me?
Yeah.
Well, I know the answer. Maybe.
A maybe. I mean, I thought that was funny.
Undecided? That was not bad.
Oh, that actually was good. That was good.
Oh, see, Alan, there it comes in. The delay is killing me.
I know. The delay is really hard. Way to go, Alan. Right when I thought we were waiting long enough.
Okay. This is the JS standard library method to insert an element into a specific position in an array.
Huh?
What is splice? What is fill?
It is splice. Yes, Alan is correct.
All right.
What's that?
Next question.
What is, give me the React hook that fires synchronously after all DOM mutations. So after all DOM mutations are complete, what React hook fires?
I have lots of dogs over there.
Sorry about the dogs.
We're going to want to see those later. Use effect?
Use effect is not correct, but close. Very close.
Like really close, actually. Give it another guess, Devin. I feel like you got this.
Sit. Calm down.
What is use state?
No, so
Going
use
the other
state
way.
is a hook that does allow you to like to interact with your state, but it is not. It doesn't replace a lifecycle hook. Not so. It's not use state.
All right.
Yeah, go ahead.
The answer?
Use
What is
layout effect.
There we go.
Use layout effect. See, Devin, you were very close.
Very, very close. All right. Next question.
What is the name of the new compiler and the most recent release of Angular? So the name of the new compiler and the most recent release of Angular. Correct.
What is
Alisa,
Ivy?
Alisa Duncan coming in solid.
All right. Yes. What is Ivy? Okay. Next question. Why shouldn't you use beef stew as a computer password? Dad joke alert. Oh, there's the puppers. Why shouldn't you use beef stew as a computer password? Come on, where's all my foodies out there? Okay, I'm going for it. The answer is because it's not strong enough. Get it? I don't know why I like that one so much. Next question.
Who doesn't love a soup-based password question? All right. This is the name of Vue's equivalent of React hooks. So we have React hooks. React hooks are great. Vue decided they released an RFC that was a bit of a nightmare. And they are releasing something. It's coming out with Vue 3, but you can download it now. And what is it called? Is the name of the Vue's equivalent of React hooks.
I feel like somebody's going to get this one.
Let's see if we have any Vue people in our room.
Or else they're Googling it.
Can't really stop that.
I know. What is the composition API? Way to go, guys.
Composition API is the answer, correct.
Yes, yes. All right. The next question is, how can Santa deliver presents during a thunderstorm? Think about how he delivers presents in the first place. And that is the best tip you're getting. What are reindeer? Way to go. Ryan and Cole, nice job. Okay, next question. Chris, you're muted.
Yep. This is the name of the JavaScript convention that allows use of function declarations before they are defined. Ryan got it.
What is hoisting? Nice job. All right.
All right. The JS standard library method that allows you to concatenate all subarray elements of an array.
What is flat?
Yes, that is correct. It is array.flat.
All right.
Nice work.
Nice job,
Ryan on a roll.
He is on a roll. What do you call a pig that does karate? Pork chop. Way to go, Devin. Got it. Okay, this is our last question.
The type of conditional statement that can be used to try to trap errors. Type of conditional statement that can be used to try to trap errors. Correct. Roberto with the win.
All right. What is try catch? Now that was fun, wasn't it? The delay wasn't too terrible once we got the hang of it.
It was all right. Delay wasn't too bad.
Yeah. Okay. Well, Chris, thank you so much
You're very welcome.
for bringing JavaScript Jeopardy to us tonight. Appreciate you. I'm going to bring in JD now to talk to us about Vue in practice at Dimensional Innovations. JD, thank you again for joining us tonight, and I pass the mic off to you.
Oh, Tara, thank you. So yeah, my name is JD Hillen. I'm a senior front-end developer at a company in Kansas City called Dimensional Innovations. Dimensional Innovations, or DI as we call it, is a design build company. We basically come up with all kinds of crazy things, and we design it, we build it. We have metal fabricators, we have welders, we have architects, designers, basically all different kinds of disciplines that we kind of throw together in order to do our tagline, which is we liberate people from mediocre experiences. And one of those things is on the tech side, and I'm a front-end developer there along with 4 or 5 other guys, and we just try to build some awesome stuff. One of the other things that I wanted to talk about before I really get started is we also have, we've kind of revitalized the Vue KC meetup group. Now, obviously, with everything going on, we're not meeting right now, but we usually meet every 2 months, and we talk about what's going on in Vue or a specific specific part of Vue that we want to learn, or some of the new exciting things that are coming out in Vue 3. But just kind of wanted to give a little shameless plug there about Vue KC. So yeah, this is Vue in practice at DI. First off, I'm going to kind of talk about what Vue is. A lot of people still don't know what Vue is. We're still kind of the underdog for the Vue community. So Vue is an open source progressive JavaScript framework. You're thinking frameworks, think Angular, React, Preact, Ember, Polymer, all of those things. Just in my opinion, Vue does some things a little better. Again, I'm completely biased, and I have no problem saying that. So one of the things on their website, they say Vue is approachable, it's versatile, and it's performant. It's only about 300K gzipped when it's all said and done. And then when Vue 3 comes out, it's actually going to be even smaller and faster, which is one of the things that they've been working on. So, what is Vue? Vue is reactive, uses plain old JavaScript objects, and automatically re-rendering via a virtual DOM. If you kind of take a look on the right-hand side, there's some performance stats there, and Vue just kind of edges out React and Angular on almost every single topic there. And like I said, with Vue 3 coming out sometime in the next year, it's going to be even faster. So Vue uses single file components, or SFCs. It's HTML, CSS, and JavaScript all in one place for each of the components that you create. Preprocessors, excuse me, such as Pug or Sass or TypeScript are supported, and with Vue 3, TypeScript will be fully supported going forward. It uses Vue routing. So technically it's a single page application, so you'll need some kind of router to kind of go to the different pages, and it re-renders the components based on a route. Vuex is the state management pattern and library that it uses. It's designed after the Facebook Flux pattern, which React uses. It's basically the single source of truth in the application. And the state is also reactive, so don't have to worry about that. The application functionality, similar to React and Angular, you've got computer properties and watchers, class and style bindings, conditional list renderings, and event handling. It's all taken care of. Some of the benefits of using Vue, at least in my opinion, it focuses more on the organization of the project and the overall architecture of your project, rather than trying to find little bits of code here and there that don't necessarily make sense to have them in that place. One of the big things for me is that it's community driven. It's not, Vue is not run by some parent company like Angular is with Google or React is with Facebook. Vue is completely community driven. We have an awesome community of developers that put out all of our RFCs to come up with new features and maintain the source library, and it's all done by the community. So there's no corporate sponsorship. It takes the best parts of Angular and React and kind of mashes them into one, and it's really growing in popularity. If you take a look at this graph, and this is a little bit older, it's from 2018, but you can see there that React and Vue are kind of on this big uptick where Angular is just kind of slowly going up a little bit more, and the stats are even higher with a little more of a current graphic there. As you can see, this is a screenshot from GitHub that Vue is the number 3 most starred application, or I'm sorry, not application, number 3 starred repo out on GitHub right now, right under Free Code Camp, obviously. And then 996.icu, I had to look that up myself. I had no idea what they did. But also right under that is Bootstrap. And I kind of cut this graphic a little bit just so it wouldn't have React in there. But React is like right under Bootstrap, so. Some of the sites out there using Vue right now, Behance Network, GitLab, which is what Dimensional Innovations uses as their Git repo site, Nintendo, I mean, how can you argue with them? Laravel, Font Awesome, Loracast, all of these sites are using Vue on an enterprise level, and the list just keeps growing and growing. So, development of DI, what's it like? Development of DI is a little odd because we deal with projects, one-off projects for children's museums or sporting events or children's hospitals or things like that where we're creating an experience. So our team lead was very adamant about us being platform agnostic. So we're not significantly tied to one specific platform. So just to keep us modular in the nature of our business, we need to be able to work with a lot of different application frameworks or programming languages. So we try to keep ourselves as platform agnostic as possible, so we're not tied to one specific thing. Almost all of our projects have some kind of API integration. We typically do that with Django and the Django REST framework, but that's for another topic. In most of our projects, it relies on some kind of user input. So whether or not it's a camera or a virtual keyboard that you type in your name and address or your email address or something like that. So it definitely relies on some kind of user interaction. We also operate in controlled environments. Most of our installations have a dedicated computer that is specifically for that installation, so we don't necessarily have to work with web hosting, minus the API integrations. We do our hosting on that, but most of our applications are on a single computer that has that one specific job, and all it is doing is running that computer or running that application. We also work with specific sizing. So let's say we have a monitor that's a 48-inch monitor. We know for a fact that that monitor is never going to change size. So we don't necessarily have to do any kind of CSS or anything that we have to worry about different screen sizes and making the application responsive, because we can build it to that specific screen size and then move on from there. So we don't necessarily have to deal with that. As of right now, we have about 75 plus Vue apps out in the world since we kind of adopted Vue as our main platform in January of 2018. And one of the other things that we also use is Electron. Most of our applications are built with an Electron wrapper, so we can install the application on the machine and then have it set to automatically reset once every day at like 4 o'clock in the morning when no one's around, and then have that computer, once it reboots, automatically start the application and have it running, so there's almost no downtime. In our quest to figure out how we were going to do this, we found this really awesome project. I definitely suggest if you guys are interested in any kind of native application development or desktop application development, check out this repo by Simulated Greg. It's called Electron View, and it's basically just a boilerplate that automatically sets you up for success. You have Electron built in. It has all the build functionality pre-built, and it's already preloaded with Vue, so you don't have to set any of that stuff, and all you have to do is just get in there and code and build what you want. Now, we've obviously taken the idea from this and built our own Electron View, but the documentation on this project is really stellar, along with the rest of the documentation in Vue. If you ever have a chance, the documentation is actually really eloquent and well thought out, and they have a dedicated team just to documentation on the Vue core team. But that's kind of where we started. Is we needed some kind of framework that was versatile enough to do the crazy things that we wanted it to do, but also fit within that that shell of where we need to build this on a specific machine, whether it's Linux, whether it's Windows, whether it's Mac. It has to be performant on any of those, depending on what our clients are offering up. So Electron was the perfect solution for that. So Electron View comes with several things that, like I said, the detailed documentation is one. Scaffolding using the Vue CLI, which is really great. You don't have to get out of the Vue CLI and install something completely different. You can just use the Vue CLI that comes native and build with that. It has several of the Vue plugins that are already in place, such as Axios for API calls, the Vue Electron, like I mentioned, Vue Router, Vuex. One of the other things is the Vue Dev Tools, and we'll kind of take a look at that here in a minute. The Vue Dev Tools is a really great Chrome extension that allows you to kind of deep dive into your Vue app and help you debug or run through your list of API calls, things like that. Has Webpack already configured. I don't know about you, but I personally just get lost in Webpack with all the configuration files. So having that pre-built was kind of a godsend, and we took a lot from the Electron View to build our own. Vue Loader, same thing. It already had the preprocessor support, so I write all my CSS in Sass just because it makes more sense to me, and that was already pre-baked into it. So you could use it, you could not use it, it didn't really matter. But that was one of the things that really drew us to this was having that Sass already built in, so we could use our own libraries that we've already created in Sass. ESLint for people that are particular about their code spacing. I know I am. So that was already pre-built, and then it also has unit and end-to-end testing. We test all of our apps and make sure that everything is working correctly before they go out into the world. Just because, honestly, we don't want to go back and fix mistakes. We want them done right the first time. So. So some of the resources that we used, Vue Mastery is definitely one of the biggest ones. If you guys are familiar with Rails for Zombies, the guys that did Rails for Zombies are the guys that are now behind Vue Mastery. Rails for Zombies was, several years ago, but got sold. Code School got sold to Pluralsight, and then the guys started up Vue Mastery, and Vue Mastery is a really great resource. It walks you through basically the same way they did for Rails for Zombies, one chunk at a time. And also, one of the great things about Vue Mastery, I got to meet the guys that run that at the Vue conference this year, what was it, a couple weeks ago in early March, before all this craziness started, I was actually able to go outside and go to a conference, and it was a lot of fun. But the guys at ViewMastery take 25% of all profits from the subscriptions of ViewMastery and donate it back to the Vue.js project as a whole. So as of now, they've already donated almost $200,000 just to keep Vue going and keep the project alive, which is an amazing thing. Vue School is another great resource. I got to meet the guys that run Vue School, and it's very similar to ViewMastery. It goes a little bit deeper than ViewMastery. ViewMastery is more of a surface level with a couple little intricate things sprinkled in. The Vue School goes into some depth. Both of those are paid sites, so if you're not willing to do that, there's always Free Code Camp. Free Code Camp has everything. So they definitely have a Vue.js course. I would suggest checking that out. The Net Ninja on YouTube, if you guys are more into the YouTube thing, he's got a great series on all about Vue. Awesome Vue is a GitHub repo that basically lists out all the different resources that you could find for learning Vue or learning a specific component of Vue. And then also the Vue docs. The Vue docs are just really awesome. So I, again, highly suggest those. So that's the thank you portion of it. But I've got some code that I kind of want to have you guys check out. So this site right here, this was kind of our first foray into using Vue at DI. We got tasked with a simple email signature site. So you go in, you put in your name, I spell it right, you give your job title, so front end developer, put in your office number and your mobile number. We'll just do this. And then you copy it and paste it into your thing. This was a super simple task, but this was our first Vue app. This was something that our lead developer kind of threw together in an afternoon and had a really great time doing it and told us all about it. And from that moment on, we were all kind of hooked, just at the ease of something that was able to get up and running super quickly and build the application that you actually wanted to build, as opposed to going through all these configurations and making sure you have all these packages built in. It was just install and go. So this was kind of the first foray into the Vue world. The second thing that I kind of want to show you guys is an application that we built for the Wake Forest Demon Deacons. They have a really awesome area that they've completely revamped. So imagine this application on a 48-inch touchscreen kiosk that was built specifically to show their Hall of Champions. So as you can see, you can navigate through and see all their highlighted players. You can scroll through them. You can go through, you can actually pick somebody and it will bring up their profile, give you stats, awards they've won. If there's multiple photos, it'll show you that. But this was one of our bigger Vue projects that we first started when we first started using Vue as a platform, was building out this application. Now, several of these pieces have been componentized, especially like the header. So it's basically the same code on every single page. It just swaps the text and reanimates in. So you can go through, look at the players, find out if there were any players in the Super Bowl. You can go back and see their bowl games that they've won, individual honors, program history, and all the way down to rosters by year. You can actually see the rosters all the way down to, 1888. Obviously, there's no pictures back then, but you can still go through and see all those. Obviously, there's no 2020 yet, so that one won't work. But anyway, this was a big application that we built. It was all done in Vue, and one of the first things that we built that we were really proud of. Now, kind of talking about the Vue tools, this is the Vue tools. You can see it up here. Very, very similar to your elements in your console. Vue has a whole Vue thing, so you can actually see your root, your app, and then your home page. So we're on our home page right now. We'll go to the Deacon Legends, and you can see there's two components here. There's the Legends page and then the navigation, and then you can see all the router links, any other components that are built in. You can see all the props that are available for each of those components. But the one that I actually use the most is here. This is our Vuex store. So we're actually able to see our state at any given time. So we have different data objects. You can see coaches, photos, and basically this is a mirror of all of our API calls that we're making. When this app loads, it preloads all of the data that is set in the application via API calls, and it sets that as soon as the app is launched, when no one's around, and pulls in all the data, and that data is set until the next day when the app restarts. So it's lightning fast, and things are able to load very, very quickly. You can actually trace all of the input statements. So you can see that there was a page change, there was an input, there was another page change, and you can actually step backwards and see all of the information that's going on in this. So this is really great for debugging your application to make sure that it's actually doing the things that you're wanting it to do. I'll go ahead and minimize this. And this is the application. And I hope you guys can see this. I keep my text pretty small, so pardon my code size. But you can see that the application is really all inside this renderer folder where you have assets, components, pages, your app view, and then your main JS. Everything else is either like an export folder or a like an ESLint config or your package JSON with things that are necessary for the application but aren't all over the place. The assets folders, again, very, very structured and organized. And this is one of the things about Vue that I really enjoy, is that things are exactly where they need to be. So all the fonts are in a fonts folder, all the images are in an image folder, all the JS is in a JS folder. Here's our router, here's our store. There's a kiosk thing that's specifically for the kiosks that we build. All of our SaaS is in one folder, and it's organized accordingly. All we have to do is open this main CSS or SCSS file, and it loads everything automatically. Same with components. Our components are built in such a way where they're organized and structured, and you know exactly, okay, I need to change something in the navigation. Well, here's the navigation component. And like I said, we were talking about single file components. This is an example of a single file component where you have your template right here, which is your HTML and CSS, or I'm sorry, your HTML. And then right here in scripts, you have all your JavaScript all in one place, and then your CSS all in one place. Now, when I first started using Vue, I thought this was not going to work for me because I was so used to having a JS file, a CSS file, and a template file for one thing. Let's say I wanted to build a navigation component, I would have 3 separate files for that one component. Well, in Vue, you only have one file, and it's everything you need in that component. Same thing with pages. Pages are just components. So you can create one of those very, very simply and import it in just like you would another component. So that's pretty much what I have. Again, you can hit me up on Twitter at JD Hillen, or I also run the Vue.js.KC meetup group. You follow us at Vue.js.KC, and once we get back to meeting regularly, we'll definitely tweet that out and let everybody know. But I guess this is the time that we open it up for questions. Any questions? Okay, so the first one that I see is that, so if we want to make CSS changes, thank you for highlighting that. Is there a way to do that? Yes, you can do a global import, or you can have just the scoped CSS. So let me see this. So right now, I don't have anything scoped to the home page. This is just, this would apply. So if you used this home in another file, it would actually apply to that. But if you just added, let me pull this up a little bit. If you added scoped to that, it would only apply it to that component. But in the imports, let's see here, where is my assets, CSS? So I have this main, and it's actually importing main and then importing all these other things. So you can have your component specific CSS in the component, and then you can have kind of your global styles on your imports. At least that's how I do it. So the second one I saw is, do you have a preferred animation library for Vue? I do. My preferred animation library is TweenMax. I'm an old school Flash developer, so I used to build all those fancy dancy Flash websites back in the day. And back in the day, TweenMax was one of the best animation libraries out there for Flash. But the developer of that has grown up since a lot of us have moved on from Flash and translated it all to JavaScript. And so now we have this awesome TweenMax library. Now you also may notice the GreenSock library. That's the recent update that they just did, changed to GSAP for GreenSock animation platform. But the imports are pretty much the same. The syntax is pretty much the same. And yeah, I definitely use them. And we've also used Anime.js, which is another one that's really great. I just kind of prefer this one. Any other questions?
Well, JD, thank you so much.
No, thank you guys
for sharing everything that you guys do at Dimensional Innovations. It looks like you guys have done a lot of really great projects. That was really interesting to watch. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you
very much. And thank you for being here tonight. We appreciate it.
Hey, I'm getting away from my kids right now, so they've been in my hair all day. So this is fun.
I'm glad we can provide that outlet for you.
Well, thanks.
All right. Well, thank you. Let's see here. Chris, I'm bringing you back, bud.
Okay.
We would both like to thank all of you for joining us here tonight, and to close off the night with just a reminder of some those events announcements that we have. Again, next week we kick off the GraphQL Fireside Chats. I believe it's a series of 5 each week that will be covering various topics on GraphQL. And that's on Tuesday. And on Thursday, we have the State of View online meetup with Evan Yu.
If that one's for you, JD, come hang out with Evan Yu.
There you go. Yeah, that ought to be a good one.
Yeah. I'm super excited for that one. I feel that was great.
You can find sign-up links for all of these on our website, this.co. And then also throughout April and into May, we're actually even still adding some in the following weeks. On Wednesdays, we're doing live streaming training sessions for free, covering topics on React, Angular, Vue, web performance, and RxJS. You can find the list of the topics for each week on a website, javascriptmarathon.com. It'll give you kind of an overview of what's being covered and links to sign up to get the live link sent to you, so that way you can join us that day.
I'm giving a talk on April 22nd for one of these. I'm doing my JavaScript marathon with React and GraphQL. So shameless plug. Come watch me do React and GraphQL. It'll be baller.
There you go.
It's a Wednesday.
There you go.
You're not going to be doing anything anyway. Come watch me. Come hang out.
This is true. All right. Well, thank you all again for joining us tonight. Our next Modern Web KC event is going to be in June. Right now, we're planning on it being in person, playing everything by ear. If the coronavirus situation still is not in a position to allow us to join in person, we'll be doing this online again. But again, we'll be back in June one way or the other. So follow us on social media, Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, all of the socials to stay up to date. And hope you all have a good night.
Good night, y'all. Be safe. Wash your hands.
6 feet, social distancing.
Yeah.
Bye.